welcome back to my channel. I'm super excited to record this video because I am unhauling a bunch of books and I'm excited. I try and do this like annually. I like to try and hang on to my books for a decent amount of time to kind of see if it's something that I do really want to keep or something I really do not care for and want to get rid of. Of course, I, as well as everybody else in the universe, have been made aware of Tidying Up by Marie Kondo, that Netflix series. She wrote a book. She's like tidying up expert person. Yeah, I watched the first episode on Netflix and I thought she was great. I thought she was so sweet. And it was super inspiring to watch, like just cleaning up. And it's still technically winter, but I'm starting to get spring vibes and I love springtime and spring cleaning. So I thought it was a really good time to go through my bookshelves, go through my read and my to be read and just see what I felt like purging out of my life. Also, this weekend, my book club and I are going on a trip to Nashville and there is an amazing used bookstore there. I've talked about it in other videos called McKay's, and they accept used books and they give you either cash or in-store credit. The in-store credit is always more than the cash and they have literally just like bookshelves after bookshelves after bookshelves of books. And so I am really hoping to get a decent amount of in-store credit. That is like my goal, so I can get new books that I'm excited about and that I want to read, or maybe that I have read and I really want the physical copies. So with all that said, I'm getting rid of about 45 books. I'm gonna go ahead and walk you guys through the books that I'm getting rid of. I just want to put a tiny disclaimer on this that if you love these books, I'm so happy. My entire goal is that these books would be donated so that they can be loved and read by someone else who really wants them. Some of these I just really didn't love. Some of these I just don't plan on reading. And some of these I even just have copies of or extras of that I just don't need. So with all that, please don't get offended if you see one of your favorite books on this list. That is not meant to offend you. I just personally do not want it on my shelves. Okay, let's go ahead and get the first pile. The very first book that I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of is one that I do have a copy of. I have like the first edition, I guess you would call it, and I just really didn't want this edition on my shelves, and that is Big Little Lies by Leanne Moriarty. This is the like HBO limited series cover with actresses on it. I just didn't really like this cover. I have the one with the classic, it's like a lollipop shattering or something, and it's hardcover, and I love that book. I love this book, so while I'm like sad to see it go, I'm not, because I'm really hoping someone else will read it and love it just as much as I do. The next few books I'm getting rid of are two books in the series of Unfortunate Events series, number 8 and number 5. I had a plan to try and collect these used to have in a series, but ultimately it was just getting too hard to like keep up with, and they just kept sitting on my TBR shelf. I've probably had these for maybe like 2 years, and really ultimately I would love to have the series, but I think I just would love to save up and treat myself to like the box edition set where they aren't used, and I love them. Again, love this series. It's an amazing middle grade series. I'm sure you've heard of it, but I just have like so many odds and ends of this series that it doesn't make sense to hang on to these ones. The next two books I'm getting rid of are for pretty much the exact same reason. Harry Potter, I have book 1 and book 3. Again, I was gonna try and collect these randomly, but there's so many like editions and there's so many used copies, and I ended up getting my own set of the beautiful hardcovers, and I just didn't need to keep collecting. The next book I'm gonna bring to the used bookstore is called Girl on a Wire. This is by Gwenda Bond. I have never read this book. This is one of the ones that had been sitting on my TBR for a long time. I think I got this one when Amazon was having a big book sale, and it was like probably less than $5. I super love books that are set in like circusy themes and settings, but I just keep putting this one off, and if I'm gonna be honest with myself, it's just not something that I plan to getting around to soon, so I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of this one as well. The next book I'm getting rid of is a middle grade. A long time ago, I got really excited about the Book Outlet middle grade clearance sale, and I got like 13 middle grade books for like $30, but I've read some of them and I haven't read some of them. One of the ones I haven't read is this one. It's called Hiding Out at the Pancake Palace. It's like about a teenager who lives in New Jersey. Something about like Elvis, his name is Elvis, he wants to be a musician, something about a girl. Yeah, I'm just not gonna read it. That's pretty much all there is to it. It's brand new, and I hope someone else finds finds it and loves it and reads it, unlike me. The next book I am unhauling is My Friend Fear. This is by Mira Lee Patel, and this is a really beautiful book. I had great intentions of reading it and loving it, and it has just absolutely like super stunning artwork throughout. I absolutely love the art, and it's about like her struggle with anxiety and how to find magic in the unknown. And I read a little bit of it. It just wasn't doing much for me. I personally am just not someone who really gravitates or gets much out of like self-help type books. I was really mostly drawn to the artwork, and the artwork is beautiful, but it's just sitting on my shelf. And for that reason, I don't need to have it there anymore. I'm not going to finish reading it, and I hope that it can be read by someone else. I have two more books from that book outlet middle grade haul that I'm also unhauling. One of them is Homesick by Katie Cleese, and the other one is The Adventures of Letty Peppercorn by Sam Gayton, illustrated by Poppy Burnate. And again, just two middle grade books that, while at the time I had really good intentions, and I love middle grades, especially when I'm in a reading slump or when I want to read something quickly, but I am getting a little bit away from middle grades. I'm finding my taste with middle grade books especially is becoming a little bit more particular, and sometimes middle grades can feel just as much of a chore reading them as like regular adult books. So with all that said, I'm gonna go ahead and unhaul these as well. I'm also unhauling a children's book that is The Numberlies by William Joyce and Christina Ellis. And you might be wondering, Zoe, you don't have children. Why do you have a children's book on your shelf? Well, that is a great question. So I grew up reading William Joyce books, and I really wanted to, like a year and a half ago, I had this great idea to collect William Joyce books. And while I still kind of want to do that, you know, I read this one. I'm not gonna read it again anytime soon, and I'm not going to have kids anytime soon. And so I just don't need to really hang on to it. It's a really, really fantastic book. Again, I love William Joyce. I just think that William Joyce stories are just beautiful and they're sentimental, but this one is not. And I got it as a Christmas gift, and I don't need it. It's okay. I'm letting it go. The next two books that I am unhauling are graphic novels, and one of them is Paper Girls. This is volume 1. I read this, I think around the time it came out back in like 2017, and it was fun. It was one of the first like graphic novels that I decided to pick up and kind of like inspired me to keep reading in the genre, but it's been a while. I really don't have the desire to keep reading this series. That's pretty much all I have to say about that. I didn't hate it, but I just didn't love it enough to keep continuing on with the series. And the next graphic novel that I'm going to go ahead and get rid of is Invisible Emmy. If you have seen my least favorite books of 2018, you will know that this was definitely on that list. I just thought it was slightly problematic. I don't want it on my shelf. I am not a fan of kind of the message, and I don't think the author intentionally meant to kind of construct this sort of message, but yeah, I just in general was not a fan of this middle grade graphic novel, so I'm unhauling this as well. And the next book that I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of is The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. Sorry, I know that this is a very well-loved book, but I will not be continuing on in the series. I read this last month. It was included in my last wrap-up video, and you can listen to all my thoughts there, but I just wasn't a fan of this. I'm not gonna continue on, and I don't need to have it on my shelf. The next two books that I'm getting rid of are two more middle grade books. They are two books in a series, and that is the Doldrums, #1 and #2, The Helmsley Curse. These are by Nicholas Gannon, and they are really just not my favorite, which is unfortunate because I had really, really high hopes for these middle grade books. I kept them around for a while because they're beautiful books. Like, they're done beautifully. They're heavy. Their paper is like nice, clean, white, beautiful paper, beautiful full page illustrations that like I totally like absolutely adore. But again, it's just artwork that's sitting on my shelves that I can't, you know, display. And I don't need them. And I would love for a, you know, middle schooler or young adult or someone to read these and absolutely just devour these and love these. So getting rid of these. The next book I'm getting rid of is just because I have an additional copy. I have a signed copy that I love with my whole heart, but I don't need a second copy, and that is Beneath the Sugar Sky by Shauna McGuire. If you've been on my channel for a while, you know that I absolutely love the Wayward Children series. I loved this book, but I have a signed copy that I adore, and so I don't need a second copy. I have more middle grade books that I'm getting rid of. I'm realizing that seems to be a theme. I'm purging a lot of my middle grade, I think, because last year, like I said earlier, I just kind of have gone through this transition time of maybe not liking middle grade as much as I originally thought as much as I originally did. So I am getting rid of two more middle grades, and that is 1+1 1 equals blue. I think this is like about someone who, it's about a boy who associates numbers with colors, which is kind of cool. And I was interested in reading it, but just not something I'm going to get to anytime soon. And then another one I have is School of Fear. And this totally gave me like Nightmares vibes by Jason Segel and Kristen Miller. That's a middle grade series that I really do love, but I just, again, not going to get to it anytime soon. The next book that I'm getting rid of is The Secret Garden. This is by Frances Hodgson Burnett. And yeah, I listened to this on audiobook 2 years ago and got this copy because I thought it was so beautiful and I got suckered into it because it's just pretty. But I really didn't love this story that much. Like, it's a classic. I'm not a super huge fan of classics. I think that like these versions of these books, I don't know, there's some kind of editions that were exclusive to Barnes & Noble. I don't even think they make these ones anymore. I'm not quite sure, but I'm just not gonna keep collecting them. Again, not a fan of classics, and yeah, I just don't need this one on my shelf. Another middle grade that I'm getting rid of is The 14th Goldfish. This is by Jennifer Holm. I actually see this around bookstores a lot, so I think it's pretty well loved by younger readers, but again, just not something I want to read. Oh, I found another. Here's another series of unfortunate events I'm getting rid of. It's number 2, The Reptile Room. Super love this one, but want my own box set. The next 2 books I'm getting rid of, really because I want to buy, they're like bind-ups of all of the books in the individual series, and I do want these on my shelf, but I want the individual books themselves, and that is The Chronicles of Narnia. It's like this massive, huge bind-up that's just like so insanely intimidating. And then also The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. Again, another bind-up where I just would really, really like the individual books, so I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of these ones. Another book that I already have a copy of that I super love, but I just didn't want this edition, that is Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. I thought I didn't have it on my shelf for some reason, so I picked it up from Goodwill and then realized I already had the edition. So I'm just gonna go ahead and return this to a used bookstore. And the next book I'm getting rid of was one that I was on the fence about getting rid of in my last book haul that I did, and that was Fantastic Beasts by J.K. Rowling. I don't care for it. I didn't really care for reading the screenplay. I thought I would love it, and I just didn't. I got kind of confused, and then I wanted to keep it in case I loved the movie, and then I watched the movie and didn't really like the movie either, so I am gonna go ahead and get rid of this one as well. The next 3 books that I have are all books that were on my least favorite books of 2018, which is why I'm getting rid of them. That is The Perfect Mother by Amy Malloy, a mystery thriller about a mom who loses her baby. Beautiful Broken Girls, about 2 sisters who commit suicide and leave notes for one of the sisters' ex-boyfriends to find out why they did it. And Emergency Contact, I can't really remember what it's about. A girl who goes to college and meets a boy, and there's anxiety and something about being each other's emergency contact and them starting a relationship. I just didn't like any of these books, and I don't want to keep them. I'm also getting rid of another middle grade, You Can't See the Elephants. This was also from that haul, but I did read this book. I liked it. It's about, I think, a girl who makes friends with 2 siblings who she finds out that I guess their father is abusive, either mother or father is abusing them. So definitely hard hitting. I just didn't like love it, so I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of this one as well. And then I'm also going ahead and getting rid of Scream and Scream Again. This is an anthology that I picked up last year. I was so excited to read it, and I'm just not loving anthologies. They're just not something that I really have enjoyed. It's weird, but I just didn't like them. Like, I knew it was gonna be middle grade, but I guess I didn't realize, like, I thought it was gonna be a little bit scarier, and they're just not scary at all. It was fun to read a little bit from R.L. Stine again, but it's a solid anthology of just like scary stories, perfect for Halloween time, but just not something that I want to hang on to. I don't plan on reading. I think I've read like 3 of them and was pretty much done after that. This next book was also on my least favorites of 2018, and that was The Wicked Deep by Shea Earnshaw. Honestly, I'm sad to see this one go. Like, this one, I don't know, I feel like I might back out at the last minute, but I just didn't love this book. Honestly, the only reason I want to keep it is just because of the aesthetics. Like, the cover's so pretty, and then it has like this gorgeous like night sky on the hardcover, so I literally might just change my mind and end up keeping it. But if I'm strong and stay strong, I'll get rid of it because I just didn't like it at all. Another book I'm getting rid of is Windfall. This is by Jennifer Smith. I think this came out in 2017, about a guy who wins the lottery and how it affects his like friendship with his best friend and how she kind of deals with it. It was fine, nothing special, nothing I really want to hang on to. This next book is on my DNF list. I did not finish it. I read like maybe 50 pages and literally like could not force myself to read anymore. It was Royce Rolls by Margaret Stoll. It was about a girl on a reality television show, her and her family, but like it was just weird, and there were tons of random like footnote things that I think were supposed to be funny but was just confusing. I did not like this book at all. I can't wait to get it off my shelf. The next book I'm also getting rid of is Exit Pursued by a Bear. Again, didn't like like this one. I think this was also on my least favorites of 2018. It just is supposed to be super hard hitting about a girl who is sexually assaulted at cheerleading camp and how she deals with it. It was fine. It just, nothing stood out about this book to make me like love it or even hang on to it. There's so many, I think every single book on my least favorite 2018 is in this unhaul. At least that shows you that I'm not afraid to get rid of books. So the next book I'm getting rid of is By Your Side by Casey West. I totally hated this book. I read it last year and thought it was dumb as all get out. It was just cheesy and like, it's just, I did not like this. Goodbye. I'm also getting rid of The Princess Saves Herself in this one by Amanda Lovelace. It's a book of poetry, kind of like, I hate to say it, I don't know if this is like offensive, but like sort of Instagram-ish poetry. And yeah, I just didn't like it. I just thought some of the poems were a little cringy. I'm also getting rid of Exit West by Mohsin Hamid. This was a really confusing book. We read it for book club. Again, I like super love the cover, but I don't need to hang on to it. I didn't love the content. I'm also getting rid of Tell Me Three Things by Julie Boxbaum. I read this in like 2017 and it was cute, but I'll never read it again. And it's not one that I like readily recommend for other people to read. So I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of this one. I'm also getting rid of Furthermore by Tahana Mafi. Again, oh my gosh, beautiful cover. It like breaks my heart to get rid of these books just because they're stunning. But it's a middle grade that was just like, I enjoyed it at the time, but I won't read it again and I won't see myself continuing like Witchwood or in the series at all. So I am gonna go ahead and get rid of this one as well. And then I'm also getting rid of Sourdough. I read this one last month and it's about a girl in San Francisco who bakes bread and works at a startup company. It was weird. It was like weird magical realism, YA fiction, contemporary. It was just weird. Like I just don't know how I feel about this book. I just thought it was strange. I'm also getting rid of a book that literally came out like last month. It was released last month and I picked it up and it was one of my most anticipated of this year. I just could not get through it, and that was We Cast a Shadow. It's this weird dystopian satire about like futuristic America and how it's even more like conservative and against Black people, and like, so the message is super solid in this, but it was just a very confusing story and it felt weirdly like magical realism, but I was getting confused and like caught up in some of the weird sarcasm and satire, and I could not finish it. I'm sorry, I tried. Yeah, this again was just also really weird. I didn't like it. Lastly, I am getting rid of books 1 and 2 of the Shatter Me series. I don't have the first one because I listened to it on an audiobook. I have Ignite Me and Unravel Me. I think this series is just so silly and like totally just, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of shallow. Like there's not a lot of depth to it. I didn't think. I'm not a fan of the hate to love trope thingy. Like I don't know. I'm trying to find the words and I have no words. I don't plan on picking up the rest of the series now that it's continuing. And yeah, this is just a very I'm just not a fan. Not a fan. Not a fan! Oh my goodness. You guys should see the pile of books that I've been collecting. Now they're just on a pile. Anyway, those are all the books that I'm unhauling. I'm super excited to give these to the bookstore and I hope someone else finds them and loves them. I'm excited to see what I find at the bookstore. I will be doing a vlog, so you guys will be able to watch that hopefully next week. And yeah, that's all I've got. Let me know in the comments if you're sad to see me get rid of any of these. Let me know if there's something that you think I should hang on to. Let me know if there's one of those ones on my TBR that you're like, wait, no, you might like it. I'd love to know so I can keep it and maybe I'll try reading it. But yeah, that's what I'm doing. Thanks, Marie Kondo. I have like a little bit of space now on my shelves for more books. So that's like the bright side of all of this. So all right, you guys, well, I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day wherever you are, and I will see you soon in my next video. Bye!